It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're reviewing Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. It's out in theaters now.
We just finished reviewing it for
like
an hour.
Just got off that review, hot off the presses. We've got you updates on both Avatar projects, The Last Airbender and For the Way of Water, Mike.
Oh, yes. Back in the light again. I think even when the first Avatar movie was out and around, the Avatar show was also still in the zeitgeist, so yeah, they'll always be with us, I suppose.
Has it never not been in the zeitgeist at this point? I could not tell you. For that, Deadpool 3 could visit old Fox franchises and more.
Synergy over there at the Walt Disney Corporation. Welcome, Chris. Yes. It's snowing for you, right?
Yes.
Winter's officially here?
It has been snowing. It was on Thursday. I had my windows down. Was driving around because it was too hot when I was at work. And now it woke up to I would say a couple inches of snow myself. Here, it's melted down a little bit, but like we are going to be cold forever now. It's not good and warm. So
I always like to imagine we have listeners all across the globe, right? So there's, somebody in a gigantic like Gore-Tex like coat, like literally inside of a snow pile with their AirPods in, like Chris is complaining about snow and I'm living it 24/7 every day of my life.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't mind it. It gives me a chance to put on my hoodies. Like I've got like a Marvel sweatshirt on, and some other jackets I like to wear. But like I tell you what, everyone says when it snows, nobody knows how to drive, and everyone panics and runs out and buys up all the groceries. And you're like, dudes, the snow's gone. Like, I don't know why you're panicking. So it's just I had to deal with some of that this morning. And I'm like, I'm over the people. They make the snow the worst.
Yes. The sky is literally falling, but in nice little flecks of snow. It's been a little chilly out here in Southern California, which has been driving me to the couch a little bit more often. I put a little nice blankie on me, and then what am I to do? Well, I need to start flexing my PlayStation Plus subscription a little bit more while I still have it on a discount. So I came across a tweet the other day. That might not be a phrase I'll be able to say. Yeah.
Was it a real one? Was it verified?
Yeah. Yes, it was a real tweet where like somebody shared some fan art of kind of like a low. I don't remember if it was low poly or pixelated fan art of like the Dark Souls universe or something like that. Or they kind of comped it up of what it could look like if it was like an 8-bit game. And then somebody said, "Why would you show me this if it doesn't exist?" Because they want it. They want it so bad. And then somebody in the comments recommended a game that came out in 2019 that pretty much is side-scrolling 8-bit Dark Souls called Blasphemous. I guess it was a very successful Kickstarter a few years before that, but then the game fully released in 2019, and I was able to download it on PlayStation Plus. So I've been playing that the last couple days, and it does, like, if it feels like Dark Souls meets like a 2D side scroller, it kind of feels like Dark Souls meets Shovel Knight, which is a side scrolling game that I absolutely loved. The difficulty, it ramps up very, very quickly. They kind of get you into the game through like kind of some tutorial levels pretty easily. And then they do the brutal thing where checkpoints are few and far between, enemies are really, really hard, treacherous platforming. But I've always really enjoyed platforming, but we'll see how much I can enjoy it and put up with when I keep dying from like the same floating wraith every time on this platform. But shout out to anybody out there who has like a game streaming service. Blasphemous from 2019 might be on there. It's fun. It's very weird seeing very graphic and violent cutscenes in kind of like that 8-bit style, right? It's kind of like, it's very like beautiful but also jarring at the same time. So a soft recommendation right now, as I'm at the very beginning of Blasphemous.
Yeah.
But
because
Chris, what have you been up to?
Well, Mike is the only person in the world not playing the new Call of Duty, the new God of War, or the new Pokemon game this week. All three
games from 2020.
Games that have just everyone spent their holiday money early on those, so that's funny. But I was able to revisit one of my favorite television shows of all time that was canceled 6 years ago at C2E2 called Aqua.
I thought you were gonna say a show that's been canceled 6 times. I was like, well, yeah, kind of.
No, it was only canceled once, and it was canceled. Aqua Teen Hunger Force ended, I believe, in 2016. Much to my disappointment, because I actually got to interview Dave Willis there, with the creator of the show, the voice of Meatwad and Carl himself, and I was like, yes, we're gonna get more. And he's like, and the last season's the next one because of Cartoon Network. I'm like, well, at least David Zaslav didn't have anything to do with this, because he is not fun. But Aqua Teen Hunger Force was one of the few shows that was able to get a movie release, right? And we talked about this before. And Aqua Teen Plantasm finally came out this week, and it is just an hour and 15 minutes of pure Aqua Teen fun, Mike. If you imagined an episode running along, this is exactly what you get. And it skewers Elon Musk, it skewers Amazon, all over. Even without his stuff recently, they had this in works months ago, right? If not years. And I'm like, oh, they nailed it on the head with this. So a very, very good show. And one of those things when a cheap show gets a movie, right, it gets better animation, right? I think going back and looking at the Simpsons movie, whenever it came out, the animation versus the TV show, you always see that uptick in quality. Mm-hmm. So very happy to see that. It was fun to revisit it. Again, it's only for purchase right now. Streaming will come in 2023. But if you get a chance to check this out somewhere, I highly recommend it. I don't think we'll ever get the show back, but it's fun to still revisit that with the characters, with the voices, so on and so forth, to do that. And then also, because it popped up in our group chat earlier, Mike, next week is the last week for the Great British Baking Show episode of the season. So I'm like, oh man, once this is done, I can finally start watching that Andor show Mike keeps talking about.
Yeah.
But that also has 2 more episodes left as well. That's not in our show notes, but that is my goal, is to start burning through that, so I end it on when it ends, rather than having to catch up there at the last week. So to do that, but yeah, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Also been playing God of War Ragnarok, like I mentioned, the new Call of Duty, and then the new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet drop on Friday. So I am my time is just tanked for the rest of the year, Mike. I don't. This is all I'm going to be doing, is playing those games. But yeah, let's jump into the news here. We're going to start with some really tragic news that came up yesterday. Kind of made the rounds, and that is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman from the animated series. I believe he was also in Batman Beyond and some more shows, has passed away due to a battle with a long-term illness he's had.
Yeah, I believe it was, I don't know if it's been officially confirmed or not, but I believe he was fighting a form of cancer. Passed somewhere in his 60s. I don't remember the exact age, but he looked like towards the end there that things were getting pretty rough. So it's unfortunate when great people like that have to suffer for a long time. But I am honestly impressed for as sick as he may have been, that he was still out there acting, right? He was doing live action cameos in the Arrowverse.
He was doing conventions earlier this year, even.
Yeah, he was still voice acting. So he was not gonna. He was just not gonna sit on the sidelines and not do what he loved, which was being with his fans. Like me and you, we had a chance to, I guess, we did technically see him in person, but he was from far away on top of a stage when we went to see him at the Batman Beyond panel, I believe. Yeah. He was in when they were talking about like an anniversary Blu-ray coming out, and he has nothing but admiration for his fans and his work. So it's very, very sad to see him go. And it's weird too, because I mean, he's obviously the iconic voice of Batman, and there's like a small part in my head where I'm just like, oh, can artificial intelligence keep this alive, right? Can we get enough recordings of this and be able to keep the Kevin Conroy voice around forever? But then there's another part of me that goes, well, he's not always going to be Batman forever, and maybe it's okay to let that go. And who knows, there could be somebody alive already or somebody being born tomorrow that one day might be just as great of a voice talent. So I guess it's always important to remember, even when you lose greatness, you can obviously honor them, especially when they're a very close character to you, but they'll always be more emotional connections you can make to characters in the future.
And he came, he was a voice of Batman in a time when animation was kind of in his golden age for superheroes. We had the X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Batman animated shows all at the same time. So I know I'd go home and catch it on Cartoon Network, I believe, after schools, or it might have been on was that like a Fox show? Maybe I think maybe Fox Kids occasionally would be on there. I don't remember, but that. And the other things, obviously he's been in other stuff, but I think, one of the things that I've been talking about recently is he was the voice of Batman in the Arkham games, even, right? And everything that we've ever touched, pretty much Batman, he's mostly been the voice of. So it is very, very sad to lose him. But like you said, we've had other Batman, but that doesn't tarnish his legacy as the character in the history of everyone growing up.
Yeah, I wonder if I know that the future of that Dark Knight show that was being pitched to HBO Max was canceled, and then it was rumored that it maybe would be hitting Apple Plus. I was just assuming Kevin Conroy was attached to that, so
I'm not seeing it on the notes here for him, so he might have known. Maybe it didn't do it then.
Yeah, maybe. So it is a little unfortunate that kind of we might get to see just the spirit of that character continue without him, though. But that is one thing that's great kind of about the voice acting community as a whole. They're a very tight-knit group. They all respect each other's talent and work. So I'm sure that whoever they get to kind of come in and possibly replace the character, or maybe even slightly reinvent a character, will do it with a lot of respect. But very very unfortunate to lose Kevin Conroy. Man, just absolute voice. It's just crazy how like just a single voice can just
I never would have known
such a
I never would know what he looked like without the internet, right? Like I would never have known that he didn't look like Batman in real life, because that's what I hear. So I do know that Batman the Animated Series was last year, or maybe the year before. It recently hit Blu-ray, right? High quality. It's on HBO Max if you still have that, and they haven't removed it yet. One of the two. So you can always catch up on those episodes. That he also did the movie, The Mask of the Phantasm, right, from that as well. So check those out. And we're going to jump into another thing that you lost a huge actor. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, the first Black Panther film post the death of Chadwick Boseman, and kind of carried on the same thing. It's not fun to go in there watching knowing that you're not going to get to see that actor again, right? That's it's great that it's a Marvel movie. It's great that we get to go see quality cinema, but it's not fun knowing that the actor is not going to be there in the role that you've known him for. But this movie's now in theaters, so if you've seen it, we did a whole review episode right before this, so you can go check that out. And if not, you can still listen to the first half. We always mark our spoilers before we get into it. But I was talking about the box office with Mike before this. This movie is looking to make around $190 million opening weekend, which is second behind only Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for this year. So that's great news for that movie. Obviously, moneymaker. You mentioned earlier, the first movie was a cultural phenomenon, right? Entire communities were booking theaters for schools and neighborhoods to go watch this, to see, for the culture. And this movie may not have that effect, but there's still a lot of people curious to go watch it, rather than maybe not in the same regards as before, because of how do they handle the loss, how does this movie going to shape up. So we can go into reviews a little bit, our spoiler-free thoughts on this movie, Mike, if we want to right now. And I think I'll just reiterate what I said on a review episode. It's like this movie, it's lofty. It's lofty goals. It was an uphill battle. What do you do when you announce a movie one way, you lose your actor, and you have to shift gears in every other way as well? Like, you don't just take the same movie. They didn't recast them. They didn't put somebody else in. They had to rewrite an entire movie about the not just the characters in the thing Loss and Grief, but the audience and the actors within the movie. How are they dealing with this? And I think it's a weighty movie. It's very thought-provoking. There's lots and lots of silence in this movie that makes you sit and kind of reflect that other films wouldn't do, right? They'd be probably a little noisier, a little more maybe on the nose. And I do respect this movie, what they did under the circumstances they've done. So I think it's a good time, but there are definitely not a perfect film. But, you know, again, to reiterate, I do not envy anyone who had to make the choices to get to this movie made to this point today. Definitely feel for them, but we do, and I think, Mike, you agree that they did make the best choices they could given the circumstances to get there. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, they did their best.
Yep.
Not only with the loss of an iconic actor in an iconic role, but fighting the battle of releases of COVID and delays and, you know, things that other actors were saying in the real world during trying times. So yeah, crazy. And so what we ended up getting, I feel like maybe was obviously an outcome of all of that. But like you said, Chris, they did the best with a bad situation. And overall, I could still very much recommend this movie. There were parts that I felt like could have been a little bit better, but they kind of did what they needed to do, right? Was to continue the mantle, push things forward, and introduce new characters. My single favorite thing about this film is Namor. I love the actor. I love the character. The origin was smart, and I'm looking forward to see more of Namor in the MCU. You know, I didn't say this, Chris, in our spoiler cast review, and this still won't be a spoiler. But we do get to see an underwater city, which I don't believe that was something that we didn't think that we were going to see, right?
Yeah.
And something that I railed pretty heavily on with the Aquaman movie is I don't think underwater cities are very visually entertaining to look at. Mm-hmm. They're kind of hard to wrap your mind around, and if you want to render them accurately under the water, they're very dark and dingy. Yeah. And more of the same in this one as well. I've just come to accept the fact that I am not entertained by underwater communities. Yeah. A very weird, specific niche thing that you also don't come across that often, but I'm still holding out hope. I mean, we got one more underwater movie this year, right?
I said, boy, do I have a movie for you to watch next month with water in the title.
Yeah, well, and who knows? It is called The Way of Water, but I don't think we've seen anything living under the water that wasn't specifically fish. I don't think we've seen Na'vi breathe in water quite yet. But yeah, still waiting for that filmmaker to crack an underwater city that I actually want to be in. And
I don't even know if that's possible at this point, right? I think what I liked about this one was more is, you know, again, Namor, the culture it come from, it's, you know, they borrowed that culture. I think for Aquaman, it didn't feel unique enough. It's just like, hey, here's some shells and some fish and stuff. But this one was like, hey, this is the culture and this is where they took it under the water kind of thing. So I think I'll give them that credit. But I agree. I want more. I want to spend more time down there in Talicon. But
I felt like the film was a little bit long with some parts that could have been trimmed. But the reception out there in the world with the reviews have been very positive. I am positive on it as well, just not as positive as I wished going into it. I had, if you listen to the podcast every week, I had very, very high hopes for this film. This is one I've been waiting for a while. So maybe my high expectations came into play a little bit, but I absolutely love the locale of Wakanda. Man, put that in the theme parks. I wanna visit it. I want to eat the food. Take my $15, Disney, to give me like one little Wakanda pastry or whatever. Like I want to experience that. So looking forward to the possible Disney Plus series that might be coming out of this.
And then you go over to the Namor Water Park next door.
Yeah, Namor Water Slide.
Yeah, that's right. You get your Wakanda City and your Namor Water Park. So, but it's in theaters. You can go check that out. Again, we don't want to spoil anything for you. There's lots to be had, lots of characters to meet, and lots of stuff to find in that movie. So it's in theaters. Excuse me. The other thing about this is with news about Black Panthers, obviously, is that Ryan Coogler has been confirmed to be developing multiple series set in Wakanda for Disney Plus. We know we've talked about the Dora Milaje series. There's probably several more along the way. We just don't know, right, in the pipeline. So like you said, you really want to learn more about Wakanda, Mike. Well, this is your opportunity. It sounds like they're going to get some shows, maybe some specials, presentations, one-offs, so on and so forth. So, which is great. And I think the other thing is, I don't think this is the last time we will be visiting Wakanda anytime soon. I think I'm looking forward to going there more. Let's get back into some happier thoughts here. Less people passing, more on news coming in here, and that's the Spider-Man. So the rumor is that it has not already. It's very close. Tom Holland has reportedly signed his new contract with Sony and Marvel for Spider-Man appearances. So this is great news. I think Tom Holland's been a great Peter Parker, great Spider-Man, right, through his 3 movies and his other appearances in Infinity War and Civil War, I guess, when he showed up. So
this could be a good point to of those 2 or 3 mysterious question marks that we've seen on the MCU timeline that's been presented to us. Got to wait till those contracts are signed before you can announce the next Spider-Man movie, right?
So, the other part of that is it's Marvel and Disney have never announced a Spider-Man movie release date. So that's where the big question mark comes in. Because Sony does, right? Sony's technically the releasing company, and they've never been on the other, I guess, timelines, weirdly enough. But even then, Sony can put it out any time, and we would love more Spider-Man, right? I think that's great. Where the No Way Home ended, I think is a great opportunity, a new kicking off point for a new trilogy. If Tom Holland does this, he would be, I guess, maybe the first character to sign up for 2 full trilogies, right? Thor's had 4 movies. Everyone's cross-pollinated, but title movies. Thor's had 4. This contract is reportedly have 3 movies and another 3 appearances, so probably the 2 Avengers movies and another one coming up, Mike. But this does not include Disney Plus, apparently. So he will not be in Daredevil, Born Again, is what a lot of people were hoping he would appear in New York. So I would love for him to appear in that, but if they can't get him for Disney Plus, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like previously, right, we were pitching Spider-Man for a Young Avengers, right? Because when those rumors were kind of floating around, he was still in high school. But I feel like now that he's on the other end of No Way Home, he's gone through so much loss and forced kind of maturity. Yeah. And he's seen alternate versions of himself. He seems he's going to be too jaded. He's too fractured, I feel like, to be in like maybe a slightly chippier Young Avengers situation. So I guess I wasn't anticipating him to be on Disney Plus. So now it seems like it's set in stone via contract.
Yeah. Well, I think the other big part of this, what's great is what was left behind at the end of No Way Home, Mike. A little bit of Venom. So are we going to get that dark suit for Secret Wars, which is where he actually got the black suit in the comic books? Like, there's a lot of opportunity and quote unquote synergy, if you will, for those 2 to line up. But I would love to see a proper, not Venom but black suit Spider-Man saga, right? In the MCU. The Venom movies are what they are in Sony. There's a 3rd one coming. They've already done Carnage, so. What's left for them? How do they bring this into Marvel? I'm excited to kind of see what happens here. So, I think no one's sad about this news at the end of the day. Did Morbius have a line item anywhere in that contract? No.
Maybe we can, no.
No, there was a book about with Avi Arad in it that came out this week. He's like, he hates what Sony did with Marvel. He's like, why would they do Spider-Man? This contract was all about money. I'm like, owning Spider-Man and making movies is all about making money. I mean, even his dumbass did stuff. Like, you look at Spider-Man 3, right? And the Amazing Spider-Man stuff. Like, he just ruined those. So I'm glad he's locked out of these other movies kind of going forward. So, I'm excited. Excited to see more Spider-Man. I'm also excited to revisit Deadpool, Mike. We've been away from Deadpool for far too long. I mean, remember when this was just like a previs scene that Ryan Reynolds leaked online so we could all get excited to get the movie made?
Feels just like yesterday, right?
It does. I remember that. I think we covered that in our show early on. But rumored Owen Wilson will appear as Mobius from the TVA. His Loki character in this. So apparently this will maybe how they tie it into the MCU a little bit more as he's popping through multiple universes or timelines.
Yeah, it's weird to think that the next Deadpool movie doesn't deal with some sort of multiversal thing to begin with. I mean, if you really had to try to make his movies like canon in a way, this is the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. But also his ability to break the fourth wall almost is like a multiversal power. Yeah. You know, as it is, he is already aware that there are multiple Professor X's out there in the world, and he can look out into the audience and say it. So I would say, like, does Deadpool ever arrive in the MCU in a more practical way, right? You know, are we going to see Deadpool fighting alongside of our heroes in like the big secret war battle that they're building up to? I mean, does that make a whole lot of sense? I don't know. Does he belong in a real grounded world, or should we just let him bounce around between multiverses doing silly things?
I think we get him in Secret Wars. I think that would be really fun to have that character in there, right? And also if we have She-Hulk in there, who also breaks the fourth wall. I think having them do that together would be entertaining, right? Like, oh, you can do it too. Also, again, like you mentioned, the end of Deadpool 2 is him bouncing around through different timelines, right? He's literally using Cable's time travel device to visit his old movies. And that brings up to this, is that Ryan Reynolds wants to visit other Fox franchises, including the Fantastic Four, the original 2005 one, and the Fan Four Stick one, which would be really funny to see him skewer both of those movies up if they can get some of those actors too.
I think they should just go ahead and throw in the 1994 one as well, because I think it would be great to see all of those Ben Grimms next to each other, because they're also visually different. You know, you got the nice polished CG one, you got the really kind of cool looking practical suit, and then you have the less good looking practical suit. I could see him making a lot of funny jokes about getting rocks off and stuff like that.
Yeah, nothing that Arrested Development already hasn't done, right? For that. But I think there's also, again, Doctor Doom in those is very funny. Like the original, like the 94 one's very, you know, cosplay-ish. Then there's the movie one, and then there's the melted plastic bag look from Fan Four Stick. If it's even funny, I think the 2005 actors, right? Yeah, Chris Evans, Jessica Alba, Anne Grufford, and what's that guy from who plays the Thing? I forget his name. He's the bald guy in the cop show.
Yeah, from The Shield. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Well, either way, if you get them in, I think those actors would be very, I guess, open to coming back as those characters, right? I think they'd be like, yeah, we know we were campy, we know we were mid 2000s superheroes where things were kind of going off the rails, and Chris Evans obviously is great as both characters.
Also, like, you got Ryan Reynolds. He's at the height of his powers right now.
He's buying soccer teams. He's buying...
Yeah.
What was the other thing he was buying the other? It was a hockey team he was talking about purchasing, I think?
Who knows? Mint Mobile, Gen... Yeah. He's got a big portfolio. Yeah, who wouldn't want to work with that guy?
Yeah, and I think Marvel's got money to throw at it. So, either way, I think if he wants to visit these old Fox franchises, they're going to give him as much capability to do so. And obviously if they're bringing Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, this is a fun opportunity to do that. So I'm down with that, Mike. It sounds like you are as well. Agatha Coven of Chaos is starting to film this week. Apparently they're getting filming on this thing already. We talked about Aubrey Plaza being cast last week as the villain, and there's a rumor that one of the episodes will revolve around the spell Agatha is trapped in from the Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen's thing. So we get to see what things look like from her point of view when she's in that spell.
Interesting, yeah. Like we keep saying, each week we talk a little bit more about Agatha does that spell break, right? Once the witch that cast it is dead or gone or depowered or however you want to say it. So we'll probably get a little bit of explanation there.
Yeah, I think that gives, again, Elizabeth Olsen an opportunity to show back up as well, possibly. So I'm excited about this show. Very little is known about it from my point of view, right? A lot of opportunity here to dive into that dark magic stuff again. So we'll keep you guys posted. We're gonna get into some DC stuff. The Penguin show, Mike, is still being made. Well, apparently the Batman stuff, right? James Gunn doesn't get to touch it. Lives in its own world, apparently has his own producers, own budgets, whatever. So the Penguin show with Colin Farrell is being made. I believe it might even be in production. But apparently the series will exist after the original The Batman movie and end before its sequel, The Batman 2, which we know is in works, but not necessarily when it's coming out. So this might be an opportunity for them to transform this Cobblepot into a proper Penguin character, right? Because they never call him the Penguin in the movie.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? That first, not first, but the first Batman in this series, the Matt Reeves Batman, very grounded, very realistic, even more realistic than I thought Batman could be after watching Nolan. So how do you do that with the Penguin, right? Is he just like, is he going to be like a collector, right? Is he just going to have like his own like little zoo and he just likes penguins and he'll just get that as a nickname? Or no, we're going to be strapping rockets to penguins. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah, you do kind of wonder, where do you draw the line, right? How does he get the name Penguin?
Yeah. Does he put on the weight like the Penguin's known for? A very rotund gentleman, if you will. So I think there's opportunity for it, but at the same time, I think Colin Farrell was a great character as Oswald Cobblepot in that show, right? Gangster film, so a gangster series. We do this. I don't know how many seasons it would need to have to wrap it up, but sure, fine by me. Let's see some quality DC content. But speaking of quality DC content over at DC Studios, they say that the new bosses, James Gunn, Peter Safran, are mapping out an 8 to 10 year plan with one awesome overarching story. Mike, is what they've been told. That seems pretty fair. I believe MCU took 10 years, 11 years to get from Iron Man to Endgame, right? So 10 years is great if they can fire on all cylinders, right? Wink, wink, hint, hint. But because I've never heard of this social media site before until last week, James Gunn shared an image of Lobo. It says logo here. Lobo, the intergalactic bounty hunter, on Mastodon earlier this week, which people are taking as, they're making a Lobo movie. And Jason Momoa said, they're going to announce one of his dream projects soon, and he's always wanted to be Lobo. Well, so do you see him taking both roles as Aquaman and Lobo, or not? Because he kind of looks like the character, right? Like if you look him up.
Maybe, or who knows? Maybe they could be sunsetting Aquaman. I don't really know, but 8 to 10 years. Is it too obvious? Is it too right in our faces that the antagonist would be Darkseid? It's basically the equivalent of Marvel's Thanos. Do they maybe try to go in a different direction? If there was a different direction to go, I don't know a whole lot about overarching big baddies in the DC lore, but it would be, I think they should probably maybe pick something else, just so it's not so similar in a way of just kind of like a big kind of gruff alien.
Yeah,
wanted to mess stuff up.
Yeah, and again, Darkseid and Thanos were created at the same time, I believe, in the same era. And there's a lot of DC characters that haven't been tapped, and I believe there's opportunity to do that. And doesn't need to be a space person, Could it be someone? I think Brainiac's the best choice, but I don't know if we're gonna get him over there. But if they're going into space, Lobo, an intergalactic bounty hunter, it's pretty cool. He did have a brief stint on what was that sci-fi show? Not Gotham, Krypton. About Superman's grandpa. So huge opportunity there. And I think Jason Momoa would be, if he wanted to do both, I think they'd let him, right? I think they'd be like, yeah, sure, fine. It's whatever. Marvel did underwater stuff. They're doing it better. We don't need Aquaman anymore. I'm kidding. Yeah, so that's over at DC. If anything else pops up, we'll let you guys know. Or you can just join Mastodon, whatever this is, and follow James Gunn. Indiana Jones is supposedly getting a series. Now, I don't know if this is like a TV series. It's probably a Disney Plus series, right? Like that's when we say series, and it's Lucasfilm. But it will apparently be following Abner Ravenwood, which is Indiana Jones' mentor, where he learned all this stuff from. And Marion Ravenwood's father. Marion was his girlfriend, father to Mutt, if you remember the fourth Indiana Jones movie, which people love to forget. But no one, this character, Abner Ravenwood, has never been depicted in shows or like told what he did. So I think if they want to tell stories and follow him, there's a good opportunity to do so without recasting Indiana Jones, and they have like clear creative control over it.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a prequel. And I guess this does solve a little bit of a problem where Indiana Jones, canonically, the character, as of Harrison Ford, is getting older and moving more and more forward into time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the the archaeological adventuring gets a little less interesting as kind of like science and technology improves, right? So if we go back in time, things get a little bit more rugged. You gotta be more boots on the ground than you used to be before. So yeah. I could see that working, and also you're detached enough from, like I wonder if Indy would be in the show at all, like as like a kid,
a young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Like yeah, maybe, who knows?
But yeah, I agree. I think they could have him. They could also have young Marion if they wanted to, right? As his daughter. But you're right. Like if they go backwards, pre this World War II, is this World War One? Not, I guess not Nazis, but World War One era. They're fighting maybe before that. So I agree. There's opportunity for them to go to all these locales and visit older stuff. I'd be excited to watch this at the end of the day, right? I think it's a fun little jaunt through time at the end for that. Star Wars, Mike. This is not Andor news, so pump your brakes. I know you're excited. You like it when I say the word Andor. But right before the show, this was news I wrote yesterday. Studio Ghibli was teasing a collaboration with Lucasfilm. Studio Ghibli, Mike, can you tell us some of their main works? Your bigger.
Oh, they made your Princess Mononoke's, your Spirited Aways, your Porco Rosso's,
My
Kiki's
Neighbor
Delivery Service.
Totoro.
Yeah, Totoro, iconic Japanese animation studio that is kind of very well known for, like, I guess maybe not succumbing to the Hollywood industrial complex, right? So when I saw this news that they were going to be kind of collaborating with Lucasfilm and Disney Plus, I was like, whoa, really? That's like very forward thinking for this kind of very old school animation studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they don't normally do collaborations, right? You mentioned they're very independent. They're doing what they want to do. I believe, was it a couple years ago, was it Earwig and the Witch was like their first like 3D style movie. Kind of thing. But we got this news that like, oh, they're working on something, and they announced it literally, and it's on Disney Plus already. It's a little short about Grogu called Zen. You can watch, and it's literally 3 minutes long, very very short thing. No dialogue, very a lot of music, very artsy. The Grogu, the background is a static piece of like parchment paper, I would say, and all the animation is done kind of transparently over this, and Grogu's dealing with some dust bunnies, if you will look like dust bunnies. So it's a fun little short. It's very short. I don't think kids would be entertained as much. But
yeah, this almost feels like for what it is, it almost feels like it was maybe, I don't even want to say built up too much, because the promotion ranged for 24 hours. So it's not like it was a big build up.
It wasn't promotion. It's like a rumor mill, like churning really quickly. Yeah.
But I feel like putting something on Disney Plus kind of gives it a little bit more gravitas. Like, oh, now here's a piece of content. This honestly feels like something I probably would have like scrolled past in like a social feed, right? Because it's so short. It's relatively inconsequential. I feel like this is more of stepping your toe into the water, right, for Studio Ghibli. Is this something that they may want to do more moving forward? I feel like Disney Plus needs Studio Ghibli more than Studio Ghibli needs Disney Plus, right? They are kind of the prestige, and like Disney Plus is just kind of like, I guess maybe if they want to reach more audience. So this just kind of feels like a testing ground maybe for both outfits.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Now every other Studio Ghibli thing is on HBO Max. Is that correct still?
Yeah. But it's not like a parent company type of situation. It's just like it's like a lease agreement, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we did just see Disney Plus do that Doctor Who deal. Which I realize now that we have down here in the show notes. I thought we talked about it last week.
We did, but there's more. There's more to come up on this.
Okay, gotcha. So this could be a sign of just like, hey, we're Disney Plus. This is our kind of like olive branch. Yeah. Let's get your Studio Ghibli movies on our platform.
Yeah, and I think the other part of this is the second bullet point before this was that Studio Ghibli is rumored to be a part of Star Wars Vision Season 2. So, are they providing multiple Star Wars content, right? And this is just one of them that's like, hey, this doesn't need to be in Visions. We can make this its own thing. And then as Visions Part 2 or Season 2, whatever they call it, comes out, they will have a bigger thing to show us along the way. Because honestly, this feels more like a demo reel, right? Like, hey, we know how to animate Star Wars stuff, and really do it rather than a full, I guess, production piece. I hate to say that because but it's so short. It's like one of those Pixar, things you see before the movie, right? Where they did like the birds or whatever.
Yeah, very, very short. And I these streaming contracts typically don't last very long. I would say maybe 5 to 6 years. So, the Ghibli contract started in, 2019. So, if it's about halfway through its contract, this would be the time to start courting that that content.
Yeah, I am looking up real fast, and there's one movie with no release date yet. After How Do You Live, and Miyazaki himself is coming back to do this movie. Came out of retirement to finish it, so looks like maybe that would be a good first grab, wouldn't it? Right, first movie you have is Miyazaki's out of retirement film. For this, so
Miyazaki, he is a vibe. That dude is there's a lot of little documentaries that have been made about him, and he is this old curmudgeon that is loves punishing himself. So I think he'll be drawing until the very last day.
Yeah. His last movie was I guess The Wind Rises, which I'm not as familiar with that one, but he's done all the big ones, right? Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo. Spirited Away, so on and so forth. So yeah, very, very interesting for that. So go check that out on Disney Plus. 3 minutes. We just watched it right before this. We're gonna pull into the trailer park for a minute. Mike, get out, take a break, stretch your legs a little bit. John Wick Chapter 4 surprise dropped a trailer this week. I actually didn't think we'd get a trailer, and I guess I'll see it before my showing of Black Panther, so that was fun. But it features Keanu Reeves and Donnie Yen going at it. Seems to be we're going to learn about John Wick's family at the table in this movie, Mike. But delivers on all the classic John Wick stuff: rain, neon lights, and fighting to the rhythm of guns.
Yeah, it looks. I think the main takeaway I had from this was I didn't get any sort of narrative hint that this was the final outing of John Wick. I was looking for the last installment, the last ride. This is your final task, John. Something along those lines, and it wasn't anywhere. So this is very much it's just part 4. So it seems like we will be seeing more of John Wick after this.
I believe Chapter 5 I said is the last one. I think knowing that, but honestly, I mean, with this, there's the Ballerina movie or series, right, coming out with Ana de Armas, John Wick, and then I think that might be the prequel series. So John Wick is one of those, I wouldn't say lightning in a bottle, but it's just one of those franchises that's going to be everywhere for a little bit. It's in 20 years of just John Wick content, whether it's Keanu Reeves or elsewhere. But this is fun. I'm excited to kind of get back into this. He did say that the iconic line, "I need a gun," to Lawrence Fishburne from The Matrix, right? Because they were both. He's like, "I'm gonna need a gun," and it's like, oh, okay, that's the line he tells him in The Matrix. So that's really fun to kind of see that. So that's coming out 2023, so you can check that out. We have a link in the show notes. The other trailer, while we're here in the trailer park, is The Witcher: Blood Origin. So this is the prequel series that will come out on Netflix and debuting December 25th. I did not know this is only a 4-part event. I thought this was like a longer series, like an 8 to 12 episode series, but it's only 4 episodes, 4-part events, what they're calling it, and stars Michelle Yeoh. I believe she was the main actress in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And also in Shang-Chi. So it looks pretty cool. I mean, The Witcher, a lot of people are off of it because Henry Cavill's leaving after season 3. That's not even out yet, but that seems to be pretty cool. A lot of fighting, a lot of sword fighting.
Yeah, the fan base is very divided.
Yeah.
If you go into any of the kind of the internet replies to these postings, they are just like, "You took Henry away," or and then people will say, "No, he did it on his own choosing," and then they'll say, "Henry knew it was all coming, so he left. It was all coming down." So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess over there for Netflix in this universe, but we'll see if they can write it.
Yeah. Overall, I think not having watched season 2 of The Witcher. This still looks fine. A lot of sword fighting, a lot of fantasy elements kind of going on here, so looks pretty cool. And then, like you mentioned, Doctor Who. We're going to talk about Doctor Who for a little bit, Mike. I've been rewatching Doctor Who, the 2005 series, with my wife for the first time. And all she keeps asking, she's like, when are the Daleks going to be here? Is our Daleks in every episode? I'm like, you just need to pump your brakes a little bit. We'll get to the Daleks. And we finally got to the Daleks. But Disney Plus is not only distributing the show in every country outside of the UK and Ireland, but is also helping finance the show going forward. I did not know this until this week. So that means they will about triple its normal budget that they make over there with the BBC for every episode going forward. Yeah,
since the BBC is like kind of a public works over there, Disney can't just outright, buy it. It's not owned by a corporation. It's owned by the people.
Yeah.
Which is kind of aspirational, Yeah. So the best that they can do is, fund part of it and then put it on its platform. So this could be this. I don't really follow Doctor Who. It's not really part of my fandom, but it is good news for Doctor Who fans. This could be the first time that they really get to see something really highly polished,
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, watching that 2005 thing when they were trying to revitalize it, that budget is low. Oh my God, is it like I wouldn't say embarrassingly low, but like you can be like, they're trying to make this work on like pennies, right? The passion of the producers are what's really getting it by. But I will tell you, like, this is going to put it in par with, like, they say, like, The Mandalorian, or like, other shows of that caliber. So I'm like, that is great to know that they're going to be doing that. So I would love to see what that quality looks like on Disney Plus. With that, and the best part is with the Disney Plus thing, it's a new Doctor, a new reincarnation, so you can just jump in and not have to really follow the history of everything up to that.
That's true. Give it a shot.
Yeah. So, yep, that's fun. Netflix also announced on the anniversary, the 17 years or 16 years, 16 years since Gears of War, I believe. Gears of War is getting a live action movie on Netflix. And an animated feature as well. And I tell you what, I've never seen Dave Bautista campaign so hard for a role in my life.
Yeah, he would be perfect. But is his name Dom? Is that the main character in Gears of War?
No, Marcus Phoenix is the main character.
Marcus Phoenix.
Dom is his buddy.
Yeah, I'm thinking Fast and the Furious. I think that's what I'm thinking. I mean, there was a time in my life where when Netflix announced an adaptation, I was excited.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, sometimes they can adapt stuff with some ineptitude, and sometimes they can do it with some skill, and it's very unpredictable. So this could be cool. The story is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I played a couple of those early games, so I'd be down to watch some of it. But this to me feels like a show that you can't just approach from kind of a straightforward mentality. I feel like you need a very visual filmmaker. Like, this needs to be very kinetic, maybe even like kind of weird and like out there. Like, I don't just want like a straightforward like dramatic retelling of the story.
Well, and the thing the games did that you can't really do. The games start literally with, emergence day has already happened. Like, these creatures have been coming out of the ground attacking people for years, and you're just like part of like the last group of people, or I guess gears fighting them, right? And that's the name of the group. So this game is notorious for being absolutely brutally graphic and bloody. You have a gun, the chainsaw bayonet on the gun, right? Is what it's known for. So there have been 5 main franchises, I guess 6. There's like a prequel game that kind of tell the story, and I think Marcus Phoenix, obviously he's a very iconic looking character. These characters are like jacked, they're built, their suits are very memorable if you've played the games or even seen them. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do this, but I think you need, like you said, you need to have some of that freedom to do that, hopefully, and budget. But if they're doing a movie rather than a series, I feel a little more confident, right? With like Red Notice, I put some money in that movie, right, with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot. So I think they could do this again. Dave Bautista is literally, if you go look it up, he is dressing himself up in the outfits, putting posts on. He's like, "Can I make this any easier, Netflix?" I'm like, this guy really wants to play this role. Like,
yeah, let's do it.
So, yeah, I love the Gears of War games. They're really, really fun. They haven't put out one in a few years, but do definitely remember that making the 360 a must-have for a while. Avatar: The Last Airbender, Mike, your show, one of your favorite shows ever. They announced finally that the Avatar Studios is releasing a feature-length film, animated film in theaters, October 10th, 2025, from the same team that made the show.
I mean, I'm surprised that it's going to feature, right? This seemed like something that was greenlit specifically to bolster a streaming service, right? I love the franchise, love everything about it. I've never seen it on the big screen, so that could be fun. But even with as good of the show is, I don't think the fan base is big enough to drive maybe the box office returns that they would hope for. I don't think that's where they're going to find their audience. So yeah, I'll just say it now. I don't think we're going to be expecting the headlines of, whoa, the best, animated movie ever to perform.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe releasing it theatrically, right, gives them the ability to be nominated for an Oscar, because I think the storytelling is that good. So that could be a great way to release it too. And maybe maybe they lean into more of the creative animation side of things, and they can kind of tell something on the caliber of Spider-Verse in a way. That has the advantage of being Spider-Man, so you can get just kind of quote unquote normies to the theater, but this I don't know how I could explain to my parents how they go see Avatar: The Last Airbender in theaters. You got to watch this animated show on Nickelodeon.
Is this
first.
that James Cameron show? Is this that James Cameron thing? The anime? I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is having the same name as that. The Avatar. I think this movie, they said, is focusing on the young adult versions of the characters. So Aang, Katara. You're gonna have to help me out with the other three. The Earthbender chick. Toph.
Oh, Toph.
Yeah, Toph. Sokka, and the guy who has the fire dude. Either way, yeah, exactly. But I think I'm not the target audience for this movie, obviously. But I will definitely go watch it. But I think that's aging them up out of their their younger teens or whatever is a good opportunity to tell a more adult story as well. We know there is a story later, the Legend of Korra, which is when she's the Avatar after Aang. So what does it look like? What does the world in between the two shows look like? And this is, I think, a good opportunity to tell that story with the movie. So, again, I'm not, I've not lived this whole show forever, but I'm very excited to watch it, and see what's going on. And then this is running concurrent, or I guess separate, than Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action show on Netflix, which I believe is done filming its first season. So, Zuko's the guy's name. There it is. I have it pulled up.
You
here.
got there.
Yeah, I got it. I was looking at the Netflix cast. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, but there it is. So I figured that was good news for you, Mike, and other fans of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The other movie, Avatar: The Way of Water, which is James Cameron's sequel, coming up to his, I guess, movie, just Avatar, has a 3-hour and 10-minute runtime. If you thought Black Panther was long. Add 30 extra minutes to it.
That's gonna be I saw that there was a quote from James Cameron where he was talking about the runtime, and he was like, well, we didn't really get to focus a whole lot on emotion in the very first film, so it seems like he's gonna delve more into the
lingering
story.
shots. Shots that just focus on the animation and being emotional.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that latest trailer, I got to see it on the big screen in front of Black Panther. It looks really, really good. We'll wait to see if I can reconnect with Pandora. That big text that splashes on the screen that says "Welcome back to Pandora," and I was like, okay, I'll come back.
The only Pandora I'm going to go back to is the one from the Borderlands movie that we've not seen anything from, so I know that's coming. I would say, wait, I got to see this here, but I did not know this news came out that James Cameron actually wrote another script for Avatar 2 called The Higher Ground years ago, before this one, and just totally threw it out the door. He was like, I think his exact words were like, we wrote it and it really didn't do anything. It didn't surprise people, so we just tossed it out and started over. Because
he started going down in submarines. He was just like, ground? Who needs ground? I'm underwater. Look, this movie's all about water. Screw the ground.
I watched that trailer and I told Mike, I was like, it looks like Titanic, but on Pandora, because there's a scenes where Zoe Saldana's character and another one are under a boat sinking in the water. I'm like, oh, it looks like Titanic. Very, very close to Titanic. So I think we'll get some parallels there. But before we wrap it up, actually, I was gonna say, seeing that before Black Panther was great, but a Quantumania trailer before Black Panther was fantastic to see on the big screen as well. Very, very emotional, but like and impactful. But I think the other thing that I saw was like it was Creed 3, and then Ant-Man. I'm like, hey, that's Kang twice. That's Kang fighting Killmonger. So.
Yeah, and he's also in another trailer as well. I didn't get the Creed one, but he's in like a he's like in a Korean War movie that's coming out where he's like a fighter pilot. So there's a chance that you could have been in a theater and saw Jonathan Majors in 3 different movie trailers before your movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's taken over the cinema. I mean,
yeah,
as King, so that's pretty cool. All right, Mike. Well, we're gonna wrap and keep it short because we did 2 episodes this week. But if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at, my friend?
Oh, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, TikTok, and possibly Twitter if it still exists. Chris, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN. But that place is burning down. It's burning down so fast. If that's still here, staying the next week, I'll be surprised. But that's not for this show to talk about. If people know more about a show, listen to our Black Panther review, anything else, where can they find all that good information at?
Oh, head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show, to get our awesome show notes. If you want to see those trailers we talked about, we have that all nice and itemized in our show notes this week. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you'd love to listen to find podcasts. Like us on social media. When those platforms exist or arise as a new, we will be there. Find us at superheroslate.com/store to get merch. And we love our super fans. So if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.